Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Morning Meeting with Ambassadors. We're here with Ginger this morning. We are going to just get started in just a few minutes, but if you want to let me know that you're here, put your name, where you're from, down in the comments. We can say hello, and always, if you have any questions, please let me know, and I'll be happy to answer them for you. We are meeting our box turtle, Ginger. Hello. Ginger this morning, who's very handsome. Ginger is actually a boy. He's named Ginger for the beautiful coloring on his shell. But please tune in and we will get started. Definitely let us know if you're here. I know it's dreary out today, so we are inside, but we'll be able to watch Ginger book it around the office. That's where we are right now. We're in our clinic office. This is our admissions area where you would come in if you had an animal. And we are pretty slow today, so we're filming in our office space. So Mr. Ginger would actually love it outside today if it were a little bit warmer. These turtles will be breeding very, very soon, and they typically will do that when it starts to rain quite frequently. So these guys love those April showers. Come on in, say hello, let us know where you're from, leave your name and any questions down below, and I'll be sure to say hello. Hi, Ginger. Good morning. Hello. Good morning, everybody. As always, there is a donate button there to let us know you guys are supporting these meetings. We're so happy to bring them to you. We really miss being able to see you guys interact with everyone at programming. So hit that like button and definitely the donate button if you'd like to support our work. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. Hi, Ginger. So I'm going to flip the camera and watch Ginger walk around. We have some treats for him today. If you guys have questions about box turtles, please let me know, or about Center for Wildlife's work in general, and I will try to answer them all. Say hello if you're here, and we can get started. Ginger is one of our Eastern box turtle ambassadors. Here, let me flip the camera so you can see him. Where you going, buddy? These guys are a species of turtle that we do have in our area, but they are pretty rare, so we don't get to see them too much in our area. Where are you going? Look, we got some worms for you. Nice job. Good morning from Joe. Hello. Good morning, Kristen. What do you think? He says, I want to do what I want to do. So yes, Ginger was brought to us after he was kept as somebody's pet for many, many years, and has forgotten really how to be a wild turtle. He was taken away from his home range. He doesn't really understand where he would need to go to nest, to hibernate, to do all those important things that these guys need to do. So he is with us, and we love him dearly. He's one of our 4 box turtle ambassadors that we have at the Center for Wildlife. Hi, buddy. They are, here, let me get down on his level. Good morning, everyone. He is booking it this morning. They can move very quickly on land. A lot of people think these turtles live in the water, that all turtles are water dwelling, but these guys are actually land turtles. They like to live near water or bask in water, wade in water, but they don't really swim. You can see if he was swimming, he would not really move very quickly in water. His shell produces a lot of drag. He also is quite heavy, so he would probably sink. Where you going, bud? We're on the move. Good morning, Sarah. Hello. Thank you guys for letting me know that you're here. Good morning, Xander. Where you going, Ginger? Ginger loves to explore. Hi. So our box turtles were actually for many years picked out of the wild as babies and sold in pet stores. This was a very common practice that we saw happening throughout many states, but especially up here. And this led to their decline along with habitat destruction. So these guys are actually pretty endangered in the state of Maine. Hi, where are we going? They are also listed as vulnerable throughout the country. So though they are one of the more common turtles that you might see kept as pets or in zoos or aquariums, they are actually pretty uncommonly seen in the wild. We rarely get box turtle patients here at the center, and they are pretty far north in this area for them. It is pretty cold up here, so you're just not interested in these mealworms today, huh, buddy? Clifford, the other day we had Clifford out with us, and he ate many mealworms, so we'll have to try again later and see if Ginger wants any. Right now I think he's very interested in walking around. So you can see he has these beautiful claws on his back legs that really help propel him forward. He also has lots of scales on his front legs, if you can see those scales, that actually help to keep his skin safe when he's walking around in brush in the forest. He's going to have protection on those front legs when he's moving around, you know, thistles and pricker bushes and things like that. His shell is really gorgeous. He has, it's not too thick actually, so it's, you know, maybe a couple millimeters thick. This is another box turtle shell that we have here, and you can kind of see that that it's not terribly thick, but it is pretty hard. So it is made up of bone, and he is able to really protect himself very well in that shell. It's also covered in a thin layer of keratin scutes. That's what we call these puzzle pieces on his shell. They're called scutes, and they are really for aiding in his camouflage. They also help with his growth. So every little puzzle piece that Ginger has is actually a growth plate. And a lot of people ask this question if their shells are, if they're born with their shells, or if they need to replace their shells like a hermit crab when they grow out of them. But this is actually not true of our turtles. Turtles' shells are attached to their bodies, and they will grow continuously throughout their lifetime. So Ginger here is probably somewhere around 35. You're just bowling through everything, buddy. Probably somewhere between 35 and 40 years old. We've had him for the last 15 years or so, but he was a pet before then, so it's hard for us to know exactly how old he is. Hello. Where are you going? And he is pretty heavy in response to Jane's question. He is pretty dense, so he's probably a couple of pounds. That shell is very thick and hard. And so let's see if I can get to any more of your questions over here. Brendan would like to know why his back legs are so long. And this is a great question. A lot of folks don't realize how much there is that these turtles have inside of their shells. So when he walks, he really can propel himself forward with long legs, but you don't usually get to see them because they're tucked inside of that shell. And so they are so long to help him walk very well on land. And he also has these long claws. I don't know if you can see those. Oh, he tucked them away. Those claws help to dig into the dirt. The females will actually dig their the holes for their eggs in the ground with their back legs and lay them in reverse. So they actually use them quite a bit for digging. You can see his long claws. They're not sharp, but they do help to get through the dirt and help him to maneuver really well. Thank you so much to Charlie for donating. That is so sweet. We really appreciate it. All of the support that we get from any donation given to the center goes directly back towards the care of these guys, our ambassadors, as well as all of our patients. We take about 2,000 patients every year, so we're very lucky to have to have such wonderful support from you guys. His claws will continue to grow, Abby, if he doesn't, you know, dig in the dirt enough, if he doesn't file them down enough. Sometimes we do have to trim their nails if there's one that they're not really getting to as much. But generally, they are pretty good at keeping them worn down well enough. It's kind of like our dogs, you know, on the back feet. They might run with their back toes more and not need to have those trimmed as much, but their front feet might need a trim every once in a while. And so sometimes we do trim Ginger's nails. Ginger, you can see, has this beautiful pattern on his shell. And this is something that our Eastern boxes are known for. They have this beautiful camouflage on their shells. These guys would normally live in the forest, in the leaf litter, and that coloration is actually supposed to blend in with the leaves that have fallen on the ground from the trees up above. So he blends in really nicely with all the leaves on the ground. The males will tend to be really colored like this, and then females do tend to be a little bit more understated. They tend to be brown, kind of like birds, like songbirds, cardinals, or goldfinches. The males are brightly colored and the females are a little bit more brown and not so fancy looking. So we actually know that Ginger is a boy because of that coloring, and also because of the color of his eyes. I'm not sure if you can see, but he actually has reddish tinted eyes, and a lot of times with our box turtles, that is a really simple way to determine if they're a boy or a girl. The boys will have this reddish color to their eyes, and the females will have brown eyes. They also have different shaped shells. So what makes a box turtle so unique is this underside to their shell. I know, it's okay. Box turtles have a hinge on the underside of their shell that you can see right next to my finger. That allows them to close up their shell like a box. That's where they get their name, and be totally protected in there if they ever come into contact with a predator. But the male box turtles will actually have a little concave section to that, so it'll kind of curve inward towards their belly button, and that helps them when they're mating so that they fit nicely. But the females will actually have a completely flat belly. It will be totally straight. So that's another good general way to tell male and female turtles apart. There's also sometimes variation in the length of their tail and some coloration, but for box turtles, really what we're looking at are the shape of the shells and those eyes. Katie has a question about snapping turtles. They will definitely jump around, spin, try to snap at you with their beaks. These guys don't have teeth. They do have a beak like a bird. And they can certainly do some damage. Snapping turtles are no joke, and we certainly want to be very, very respectful and careful of that beak. We actually are, experiencing some turtle crossings right now, and we want to educate people as much as possible about how to help these turtles across the road if they want to. So they can help. You can help these guys cross roads if you see them trying to do that. But what is a little bit better is if you can kind of just usher them across the road than picking them up. So especially in the case of a large snapping turtle, picking them up is not always the best thing to do. You might just want to help them across by kind of chasing them or ushering them across the road. It's kind of hard to pick up a big snapping turtle, but these guys, it's a little bit easier. In the wild, they're not going to try to snap or bite. They are just going to curl up into their shell, into a box, and be pretty protected in there. So they're not going to try to, hurt you or anything. A painted turtle might try to, bite or something like that, but it's pretty unlikely. These turtles, especially because they're so small, are not going to, not always going to try to do that. Although we do like to say that everything with a mouth can bite here at the center. Nevets, this is about as big as you would expect to see a box turtle. We do have a bigger box turtle female named Big Mama here at the center, who's a little bit bigger than Ginger. They usually get to be about 6 inches in length, but some can exceed that. So this is a pretty good length for a box turtle. And so Ginger is full grown. He might continue to grow tiny, tiny bits throughout his life, but we wouldn't expect to see all that much growth from him. He's very interested in going into this corner, and I don't want you to do that. It's not safe over there for you. Hello. And we mentioned it before, but Ginger came to us because he was somebody's pet for many years. He is somewhere between 35 and 40 years old. We're not entirely sure. Because he was a pet for so long, he was also taken out of the wild as a hatchling, and in the first few years of life, it can be hard to determine exactly, you know, if they're a certain size, exactly how old they are. So, look at that. There's a mealworm for you, buddy. In the wild, these guys are omnivores. They eat a lot of different things. They do love to eat worms and grubs. They will dig in the ground with those claws for those things. They definitely prefer proteins to vegetables and fruits, but they will eat those too. Our guys are big fans of tomatoes, so they will eat a lot of different things, but really they love the protein. They love fish and worms and any sort of grubs that we manage to dig up out of the dirt for these guys. They also really enjoy wading in the water in vernal pools or ponds and eating the larvae of a lot of the animals that will lay their eggs there. So, for example, they'll eat little tadpoles. They might eat some insect larvae like mosquito larvae, tick larvae. So these guys are actually good insectivores too. They do eat a lot of those little pests larvae for us. Do you want to eat some worms? He's like, no, I just want to go over there, and you won't let me. So Brendan, I am trying to give him his mealworms. He just doesn't seem to be too interested in them. Sometimes, oh, nice. Nice job. We had a poop accident here. Sometimes that happens. Good job. Thank you. Sometimes we at the center we don't potty train anybody, so that happens, right? I know. And they did eat yesterday, so it makes sense. Yep. Hi. What are you doing? I'm glad that wasn't when I was holding you. That would have been icky. Please let me know if anybody has any questions. I'm happy to answer anything for you here. We also do have a donate button down below, so please feel free to donate. All of the proceeds from your donations go directly to the care of our ambassadors like Ginger and all of our patients as well. We are starting our baby mammal season, so we have a few baby squirrels in care, baby mice, baby bird. So she's very sweet. Hi, buddy. Where are you going? I know. He's so excited. Yeah. And you can really see a lot of people think that turtles are quite slow, but they are pretty quick when they're in their proper habitat. So, for example, he wouldn't move too quickly in the water, but he does move really nicely on land, especially with this grippy towel to walk on. He can go pretty quickly, and those claws help to propel him quickly forward. We do have 4 box turtles here at the center. They all live together, which is not necessarily normal. In the wild, these guys are pretty solitary. They actually don't even really understand very well how they find each other when it comes time for them to breed, but somehow they do, which is really, really cool. And we are actually entering into breeding season for these guys. We'll start to see them crossing roads along with all of our other species of turtles that we have around here very soon. They will usually start to move around a lot, especially when it gets very rainy out. So today is kind of a good day. It loosens up a lot of the dirt that they would be laying their eggs in. So they are going to, right after all those rains, go and lay those eggs at a high area. So the females will actually climb to the top of a hill, and this is where they were hatched from. So they'll return to the same general area that they were hatched from their nests. And it actually goes back quite a long time. Who's been using those ancestral nesting grounds, as we call them. They are going to return to that exact spot where they were hatched, where their grandmothers were hatched, going back hundreds of thousands of years. These guys are really ancient species, so they have been using the same sort of nesting grounds for many, many years, and we put roads there after the fact. So they cross roads now, not because they, you know, want anything near the road, but because they had always been crossing that path, had been following that path, and now there's a road there. You may also encounter this with turtles when they a lot of times people will find turtles nesting in their backyards, or if they live near some water, they'll see snapping turtles digging nests in their backyard. Some turtles will walk around on people's property and look kind of confused. They'll, you know, run up against the side of a house and get confused and then walk in the other direction. So sometimes they actually do get a little discombobulated by human structures like roads and houses and things that weren't there when they were evolving. I know. Caitlin has a question for us. How far do they go from their nesting grounds from the time they hatch until they go back to lay their own eggs? So actually it takes these guys a long time to reach maturity, about like 15 to 17 years. They can take a long time to get to the point where they're actually going to be laying their own eggs. They usually occupy like a 1 to 3 mile habitat around their nesting site, and they'll usually hatch after a couple months in the ground. But these guys will take a long time to get to the point where they're going to breed and have their own babies. When they hatch out of the shell, they're really, really tiny. They're called hatchlings, and they're usually only about the size of like a quarter. This is actually a snapping turtle hatchling. So even large snapping turtles that can get up to be 50 pounds or so, they start out as a tiny, tiny little turtle hatchling, and you can kind of see how tiny they are. They're also pretty squishy. They're not well protected by their shell when they're first hatched, and then they harden up after birth. But that those first years of life when they're really small are when they're the most vulnerable to predation. So not a lot of turtles will make it to the point where they can breed. And then that paired with the fact that they have to cross a lot of roads to go to where they're nesting have led to these guys becoming pretty endangered in our area and vulnerable throughout the United States. Christina would like to know how much they sleep. These guys, I mean, our turtles sleep a lot. How much do you think turtles sleep, Shelly? They are diurnal, so they are going to be awake for the most part during the day, but many species sleep more lightly than humans do. Humans are pretty lucky that we're able to get 8 hours of sleep a night undisturbed. These guys will probably do more dozing and then still be aware of their surroundings. Cold-blooded animals are also responsive to temperature, so if it's a colder day, they might be less active, they might be more dozy. If it's warmer, they might move around a little bit and be more active. So it depends, I think, a lot on temperature. I'm not entirely positive of the exact amount, but they are going to definitely sleep lighter than people. People are really lucky that we are able to sleep so long and so deeply. That's not really normal in the animal kingdom. Many, many things, including turtles, have to be constantly aware of predators. So, where are you going? Nice job. Yeah, please let me know. Those are all great questions, and I'm always happy to look up answers after the fact, and we can certainly answer questions in the comments as well, because there are a lot of things that we don't know and that science has yet to answer, because generally these guys have not been studied super well, and it's even trickier when it comes to some of our nocturnal animals or typically considered, you know, nuisance animals. People don't put a lot of money into their study. So we're always happy to have those questions. How is their sight? That's a really good question. So they see probably more into the blue-green end of the spectrum than we do, because that would be normal for them to encounter. Where are you going? Where are you going? They also have fairly good, they're kind of nearsighted, right? Because what's going on in their field of view is happening right here. So they're pretty nearsighted. They don't necessarily need to be able to see the things that are, you know, miles and miles away like a predator might. But they are very sensitive to quick movements and also bright flashes of other colors. You can see, even if I just wiggle my fingers around him, he can see that pretty well. They also have a very good field of vision, so when their head is poked out like that, they can see all around them. That's something to see, how his eyes are on the side of his head. That is something that we see in a lot of not predator animals. They are going to have eyes on the sides of their heads versus a predator who's going to have eyes that are local to the front of their head, because they're going to need to pounce on things and figure out where they are depth-wise really well. But these guys need to be constantly aware of a large range of vision, so they want to know what's going on all around them. So they have eyes that are set on the side of their head, kind of like a chameleon, who can actually complete his field of vision by rotating his eyes. These guys can't do that, but they do have the set eyes on the sides of their head. Nice job. Nice job, Mr. Ginger. What's over there for you? There's really nothing. He's so silly. They also are, in the rest of our box turtles are also taking a little soak right now. So he is going to go join his buddies and take a little soak. It's really important for these guys to get enough hydration. In the wild, they like to live near water. They're not turtles that live in the water. They don't swim, but they do like to live near water, like a vernal pool or a pond. And they won't necessarily, you know, completely submerge their bodies, but they'll wade into the edges. And it's really important for them to maintain high humidity to keep their skin healthy. And just like us in the winter, these guys can get too dry. And they actually do make like moisturizer for turtles, which I think is hilarious. But they will dry out if we don't soak them and give them enough humidity. So he's gonna go take a little soak with his buddies. Nice job, Ginger. Where are you going? Thank you guys so much for watching with us today. Please let me know if you have any more questions about Ginger, and I can certainly answer them here. Thank you so much for donating. We really appreciate it. I know this has been a time watching Ginger go back and forth and re-catch him, but he's on the move today. He's so excited. I think the warming temperatures make these guys a lot more active. We've definitely noticed that they've been eating more as it's gotten warmer. They've been going to the bathroom more. They've been exploring more. So we'll take him on a walk once it gets nicer out. We'll take him on a little walk outside so he can explore and maybe find some worms. Nice job. That's what's nice about being on the mountain, is we know that there's nothing out there that could potentially, you know, hurt him, like any pesticides or anything. We're being on conservation land. Thank you guys so much for checking in. We're so excited to be able to bring you these. I'll be back tomorrow morning with another one of our ambassadors, and we'll see you later. Thanks so much.